Hello, friends. It's Jim Nance. Welcome back to another episode of the ILBATDs podcast. Joined, as always, by the Commish, aka Fat Buster. Welcome back.
Yo, yo.
And by Cameron Cooper. Welcome, sir.
Tonight I'm Gus Johnson. Wow.
Oh, my. Let's dive right into the action that was week three, and then we'll preview week four. Troy, for the first time this season, breaks 100 points. Unfortunately, that results in 0 wins for him. But he gave me a little bit of a scare heading down the stretch. He needed 30 from Wandale and the Chiefs defense and got, what was it, 17 of them. So more than halfway there. It was enough that I was paying attention on Sunday night to see whether Wandale was going to catch a bomb and break my heart or something like that. But fortunately, no dice. I think we've found our starting quarterback for the most part. Going to be starting Daniel Jones unless he has a bad matchup going forward. So pretty excited about that. And Jordan Mason kind of lucked into maybe a stud running back the rest of the season there. But we've got some wide receiver issues on my team. CD and Scary Terry went down this week. And Juwan Jennings is already battling an injury. So we're a little thin at wide receiver. Jaden Reed is also out. So I've got to make some Jatavian Sanders. I also lost this week for a few weeks. So we got the injury bug despite being 3-3. So you can see I have 7 waivers queued up at the moment. We've got some shifting of the offense to come on my team for sure.
That's crazy. I mean, you put up 130 and you got the injury bug, but you look over to Troy, like you said, he scored 116 points, which equates to 0 wins for the week. I know at one point Cam was tracking luck factor and just like maybe points over expected totals and that stuff. And Troy was far and away the unluckiest team essentially, and that continues. I mean, we were all pretty high on his team going into the season after the draft, and he's 0-6. We like his rookies, and he's 0-6. He gets 16 more injuries going into week four at 0-6. So not looking great for the Peekaboos. We're gonna have to really be searching for him the whole season. So well done on the name there. But I wanted to make a point because again, referencing the draft pod, Nick, you had mentioned that Jalen Hurts might haunt you. And so maybe not specifically Jalen Hurts, but not taking that quarterback that high left you with Brock Purdy. And you had mentioned that if Brock Purdy doesn't really stay consistent or whatever, when he's got the injury, but you pick up Daniel Jones. I don't think you drafted him, you picked him up, right?
Yeah, no, that was a pickup
Right.
after week one, I believe.
After week one. So you were worried about Brock Purdy, and then you end up being okay with, Indianapolis Jones scoring the 130 number. Good win there. It's looking tough for Troy. That's all there is to it.
I'm not, it's obviously tough to be 0-6, being pretty confident after your draft, but the way that Troy drafted, I'm not super concerned. If anything, I'm actually a little bit inspired or maybe encouraged by his team. I mean, he drafted a lot of cuffs, right? He got Najee and Amari and Hampton. He got James Conner and Trey Benson. Like this only opens the door for less of a split backfield and more of two guys. So I think the fantasy community in general is pretty high on with Amari Hampton, who finally popped off after rough first couple of weeks, and then tough to see James Conner go down. He's been a staple in fantasy football for what feels like a decade at this point, but promising to have Trey Benson, on his bench right there. So I think this helps him make some better decisions and hopefully, not, I mean, easier lineup decisions, I should say. And it seems like some of his rookies are beginning to pan out a little bit sooner than imagined, right? With Hampton and Mbuka. So I'm not so down on Troy. I'm not like stock down this week as much as I was maybe the week prior. Even though he is 0-6, he did just go 0-2 on the week. I think lineup choices get easier for him now that he has, the bell cows in both of those offenses.
Yeah, I was going to make that same point. He's got 2 players technically on his roster as we look at this week, and James Conner and Najee Harris, who are already off his roster as of the time of recording this. But to your point, Cam, he has the guys who are going to benefit from that too. So there's always a an upside and a downside to, do you handcuff your own guys or do you handcuff someone else's? And like, do you just sort of cement your roster, or do you try to have like a plethora of running backs if somebody gets hurt and you happen to have the handcuff? And Troy, definitely benefiting from the strategy of like, protecting the home soil, if you will.
Mhm.
So good to see.
It's almost like he prepared for his unluckiness. It's almost like
Yeah,
he's like, you know what? Every year in fantasy, I get fucked. So let me see if I can put some protection on. And here we are.
agreed. Yeah, and I mean, Justin Jefferson had his best game of the season. As long as Carson Wentz is able to play, I mean, that might help too. So yeah, maybe the injury bug is finally giving Troy the positive side of things. He's making lemonade out of the lemons.
Well, he only has a couple hours left of the lemonade stand before he's totally kicked out of the playoffs. So he's better start making some some lemonade soon.
All right, next we had a low scoring matchup, lowest scoring of this week between Jason and Willie. Willie, a team heading in the wrong direction. He had a slightly better performance from his Bills. He only started two of them this week, if I'm not mistaken. And Josh Allen and Keon Coleman got 26 points there. Ashton Genty, who was his first rounder, has been a little bit of a slow starter, so that's always going to hurt. But after coming out of the gates firing and destroying my team on Sunday Night Football in the Bills Ravens game week one, he's cooled off and quietly on a 4-game slide at the moment. And on the flip side, we talked last week about how no one's really talking about Jason's team. He's 4-2. He didn't beat the median, but he got the head-to-head win this week. And Caleb Williams looks good. He didn't have a great game from Derrick Henry, but up and down the roster enough to at least get the win.
Yeah, not a lot of positives here for either team. Obviously, Jason with the win, that's the positive. But with Willie's team, I'll find the positive with the fact that he actually had more double-digit scorers, but the rest of his team didn't show up. Where Jason, the low point guys were still enough to get him over the hump with 97 points. You don't win a lot of games under 100 points, so you could say this is kind of a lucky win. Um, but I'm not really high on either one of these teams. I expected more from Jason, but he's kind of that second half team. He's got guys that will come back, or come back from injury or suspension later on. So maybe he's holding out the beginning of the season, but maybe that second half of the season will really show what Jason's team's all about. Willie, not a lot of good things to say, but out of respect, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, in contrast to Troy's handcuff situation, I think we talked about this on the pod with Willie. The Pacheco Kareem Hunt conundrum every single week. It looks like he picked the wrong one again, and that might have been the difference, or close to the
Yeah.
difference. To kind of get him closer to that, to beating Jason. Even though Jason won, I mean, I think Willie might be one of the lower, besides Rob, one of the lower stock teams I'm on this week. But if I look at Jason's team, even though DJ Moore caught that touchdown at the end of that game, a lot of his players, I mean, Brian Thomas really underperforming through the first 3 weeks. Jerry Judy's essentially invisible. Tyler Warren has played well, had a pretty bad week. Kayshon Boutte. If I look at his bench, like I'm not very inspired by the depth here. Not Kelvin Sampson, Dylan Sampson, essentially a non-factor in that offense now. Rashee Rice will be back for another 3 weeks. Like he's gonna have to make some moves on his bench to solidify his depth. He's not gonna win scoring 97 points every single week. So um, kind of saved by Caleb Williams' resurgence game against the Cowboys here. But I feel like Jason, even though he's on the right side of 500, is going to need to make some moves to kind of solidify this run if he wants to make it in the second half.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cam, you
He
mentioned
needs, I was just gonna say he needs Rashee Rice back in a big way.
Hmm.
yeah. But Cam, you mentioned the conundrum with the Kansas City running backs, two skill positions on the same team. He picked the wrong guy. He did the same thing with the Bills receivers between Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir, and he did the same exact thing with the Ravens receivers between Bateman and D Hop. So I'm going to reference the draft pod. You know how many times I watch our own content. The draft pod I mentioned, like you guys, you had two Bills receivers, two Ravens receivers, and he gave me shit for that. Well, this is your reason why. You don't know who to start, and you're going to pick the wrong guy, and you lose because of it. So you're running yourself in circles by picking two skill positions on the same team. And I did it. I have fucking three Seattle Seahawks. Luckily, not luckily, but Charbonnet's hurt, so I had an easy decision there. And JSN's a top 5 receiver, but it's tough when you have multiple skill positions from the same team. And this week is a perfect example. You lose games because you don't know which one to start.
Yep. Next, how about Johnny? He's 5-1. Up there at the top of the standings. Picked up Marcus Mariota, got 20 points from him. Pretty good last second addition as well from Tyquan Thornton. We'll see whether he's able to get his guy back and Mark Andrews after having to make that switch. But that was clutch. That pickup was enough to get the win if he had taken a 0 there against Josh and beat the median. So that Taekwon pick was worth 2 wins. It's the difference between 5-1 and 3-3 at the moment. So heady stuff from a manager that I feel like we don't give enough love to sometimes.
And Tyler Loop honestly got him across the finish line to beat the median. I know that was kind of a thing we were watching on Monday night.
Yep.
The Ravens lost. Yeah, I mean that is the difference between him being 3-3 and 5-1 right now, was that free agent acquisition right before the Sunday night game. I think a lot of us, I know I picked Josh, I'm pretty sure, in this game. A little bit surprised to see kind of the slow stumble in week 2 here. Kind of a similar situation, but a little bit more depth than Jason's team. Marvin Harrison obviously not playing well, so like right now, and Calvin Ridley off to a slow start. I think without the help of his kicker and defense this week, this could have been a lot uglier. So he has a lot of lineup decisions to make as well. But I don't know. I don't think any of us expected Johnny 3 or myself really to be up kind of at the top of the standings right now. So two teams that were stumbling into the playoffs or missed the playoffs. So kind of cool to see the role reversal here. So good on Johnny. Like that play.
Yeah, that speaks to this league and the unpredictability of it. I want to shout out Johnny's managerial decisions starting Marcus Mariota. You know, great pick there. He's got 3 quarterbacks on his roster. I mean, he does have Jaden Daniels, so I believe he picked up Mariota to plug and play there. But still, like a cute lineup decision there. And you already mentioned the Tyquan Thornton pick. I will put an asterisk next to Johnny's team because he is 5-1, but he's 9th in points for. So he's winning his games because he's playing against. He has the least points against. So
Defense
while
wins
Johnny,
championships.
hey, yeah, no, absolutely. It's well done from a managerial standpoint, but we're gonna need to see more if you're going to be, one of the heavy hitters, a team to be really afraid of as an opponent. I went in on his team for picking, injury ridden Christian McCaffrey and injury at the time Devin Achane, but both have been showing up. Um, his team is solid, but he's going to need to score more points if we can feel confident in his team in the long run. I'm not worried about Josh's team. We're still in the part of the season. It's obviously only week 3. We're still in the part of the season where defenses and offenses are figuring themselves out. So there's going to be ups and downs. You got to ride through. And, it just so happens to be Johnny's on the upside and Josh hit a bit of a speed bump. That's all there is to it for this week with this matchup.
Well said. Tough week for AI at the office. We talked about it in the league chat as well, but Trevor only got 53.5% of his total possible points. He could have had 177 had he played the right guys. I think he basically had the top bench warmer, at every position other than running back and defense. The top bench warmer at QB, wide receiver, tight end, and kicker. 36 from Trey Tucker on the bench and another 25 from Hunter Henry. That is tough scenes. Only 95 points from his squad this week. On the flip side, this can confuse me every time I look at it, but Colin's team named Troy's Hunters with a great week. Yeah, maybe there's signs of life. Are there signs of life from Colin? We'll see.
It's all coming from Jonathan Taylor, the number one running back in the league, number 4 player overall. It's all Jonathan Taylor. I mentioned about his upside. I'm kind of glad. Well, I'm very glad that Josh took Josh Jacobs at the turn there at 112 or 2-1 or whatever it was. I was able to get Jonathan Taylor, and he's the reason why I'm even winning games or staying close. Um, but to mention Trevor's team, the opposite of what's going on with Johnny, terrible lineup decisions. I mean, it's almost impossible to make these calls. AI can't predict the future, but this is a personal that you got to put some human element in here. Maybe look at the matchups, maybe figure out who's hot or getting more targets than another. But to score 50% of your points and also be the bench warmer of the week in more than like 1 or 2 positions is unbelievable. That is unprecedented. Got to be a record. Tough record to have, but Trevor, it's yours. Maybe we'll get you like a turnover chain necklace saying, "Hey, I have the best bench in the league." Maybe we'll go deep bench AI as your team name,
Yeah.
something
Instead of
like
deep
that.
bench Josh's, he's taking the title.
Um, but but just to quickly mention my team, I still feel good about my team. I'm not going to be the one scoring 150. I don't think I'll be scoring under 100. I'm going to win close games. I'm going to win games that are um I think I'm just going to be an average team, a middling team, which I'm okay with. At least I'm not in the playoffs right now. I mean, we're way too early to look at playoff picture, but I'm in the 9th spot and I have seventh in points for, 7th in points against. You can take Dante Thornton off the screen. We're done talking about him. Like,
No,
there's
I
no
want to
need
do
to.
my weekly check-in. I want to do my weekly check-in on Randy Moss 2.0.
Look, the Raiders are figuring it out. They're still working through some issues. Um, he'll be on my bench for the foreseeable future. I still have 5 startable running backs and can only start 4. So that's where a little bit of my headache is sticking around. And I know, Nick, you're looking for a receiver as well. So maybe some trade talk starts picking up here. Um, and, even Troy Franklin, I went all out for him and he scores me 1.8, even though he had quite a few targets. I think he's still okay. I think he's still relevant in the office. 4 targets. That's not great.
He did play 80% of snaps, but I think he
80%
just,
of snaps. And
yeah,
I think
didn't
his
get a lot of
route
targets.
percentage, I think his route percentage was pretty high as well. So like he's on the field running routes, not just on the field and they're running the ball or he's not doing anything. So I've yet I feel good that my team has yet to peak, right? Like 132 is a number that'll win you games, but this won't be my best week of the year, and I'm expecting that to happen soon. I think I have a couple bye weeks coming up early. I picked guys with early buys, so maybe once we get past there, I'll hit my peak there. But feel good about the win, and Trevor's got to look inward on this one.
Yeah, you
I'm
look,
curious.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Cam.
I was just going to say, you look at the right side of the screen, and Trevor, every single one of his players, with the exception of his kicker and his defense, underperformed their forecast, right? Their projection. So it was just on top of the production of his bench, right? You don't really get much worse than that. And I mean, to Colin's point too, I mean, his receivers and his second running RB2 and his tight end also underperformed too. So I mean, this win comes at the hands of JT, JSN, and an above average Drake May this week.
Colin, I'm also curious how you're feeling about Harold Fannin. I know you're big on him. He was your big acquisition after week 1. Are you sticking with him? His snap percentage has been a little bit lower and his points has been a little bit lower since you acquired him, but I know he's your guy.
Yeah, I think they're going to continue to pass. I haven't looked at what Njoku's been up to, but I think maybe they're just going back to the vet, trusting the vet. Um, you on on the iPad version, all the next few matchups are green, so that's telling me that the defenses aren't paying attention to the tight ends. So maybe that helps Fannin. They should be passing in every game. They're going to be well. I shouldn't say that. I think the Browns might have one of the best defenses in the NFL, so their games
Yeah.
should be low scoring. But that doesn't mean they won't be passing a lot. Um, and reiterating on the point of two skill positions from the same team, I'm gonna have to start Quinshawn Judkins. So I'm gonna have two Seahawks and two Browns in my lineup going forward for the next at least next week. I can tell you that. Those are my four starters right away. So that could backfire, but it also could just be I'm picking the right guys in those offenses. Um, I believe in Harold Fannin. I still believe in Dante Thornton, but they're figuring it out. And so, Fob busted. I don't care. I knew I was in a bad position. I knew I had to go out all out right away. The injury bug hasn't hit me yet. I need to I need to be prepared for that, which I think I should be. But I'm gonna continue to say it. I think I'm okay. Like if I'm middling and making the playoffs, then I did my job for the regular season.
Agreed. Cam, incredibly high scoring game this week. You beat the median, but unfortunately, being the second highest scoring team this week in the league was not enough to get a head to head win over Eric. What were your thoughts on the tough loss here to the Mad Lads?
It's tough when the kicker and defense of the other team score combined 53. Unfortunately, I played against the Vikings defense this week, and Caleb McLaughlin just balled out, even though we got a field goal blocked in that game. Um, I'm not, there's no moral victories in this game, but I don't feel so bad, right? I'm happy with the effort my team put in. I was in Philadelphia this weekend and I watched that entire Rams Eagles game end to end. And when I tell you that the end of that game was one of the loudest rooms I've ever been in with that block field goal for the win, that was crazy. One thing I wanted to say was when I finished this draft, I was super stoked about my wide receiver room. But I knew that running back was going to be a question mark all year. Chuba Hubbard's my RB1. Jaylen Warren, thankfully, has become kind of an RB2, low end RB1 in some weeks on his own right. And didn't love the Montgomery pick, but he actually was pretty much my best scorer this whole week, with the exception of Jalen Hurts. Loved getting pleasantly surprised like that. But I like to be a balanced team with my roster, but suddenly the unbalanced wide receiver heavy strategy has really helped out. And I like where my team's at. We're never totally satisfied. I'm always thinking about trade options. I know I talked to Colin about something late last week before this week started. So sucks to lose, but if I'm going to lose to somebody who dropped 160 and I drop 150, I'll take it.
Yep. And that officially means no more undefeated teams either.
Yeah, that's a good loss in college football terms. Um, Nothing to worry about here. If anything, obviously stock up. You're the number one team, number one points. But like with CD going down, Pickens is only going to get more looks. I think someone else is even stock up
I
that
mean,
Montgomery, like he looked the better back last night. That won't continue. Jahmyr Gibbs is clearly more talented, but like maybe they lean on Montgomery for chunk yardage and Jahmyr can be the gadget guy. Um, there's not a lot to
Neighbors now has a generational quarterback throwing to him.
Yes, I can confidently say that's an upgrade. I think Russell Wilson's best days are behind him, and maybe people knew that a few years ago. I wasn't really ready to state that, but that game, I guess that was the Sunday night game. That's a tough look for Russ. I'm a Russ fan, but yikes. But I love seeing young quarterbacks, rookies. I'm excited about Jackson Dart. If he plays well and the Giants can cook something up, maybe I won't hate them as much. Maybe they can be an exciting team and I won't hate watch them all the time.
And last but not least, another 5-1 team. Alex coming out the gates super strong. Rob, unfortunately, 0-6. He's also in desperation mode now. You wouldn't think that with a team when you look at the first two names on the roster and they're Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley, but almost impressive to be 0-6 when you have those two at the top of your roster. But yeah, Alex with another 125 points. He got away, as we talked about, from the quite being as tight end heavy as he has in the past. He had a little bit more of a balanced draft. Still leaning tight ends, obviously, because that's the way he does things, but and started two of them this week. But credit to Alex. He's put together a really nice season so far. I am curious to see how the rest of the regular season pans out for him because like you were saying, Colin, he's got two bucks that he starts, and he does still have a number of tight ends that he kind of mixes and matches and whatnot. I don't necessarily love the guys on his bench, two more tight ends on his bench, but at least so far, before we hit bye weeks, he's been really strong.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Alex. Two top five tight ends, Hawkinson's number 17. So the tight end strategy is paying off. He went with his Chicago Bear with Roma Dunze. That's the right bear to go with, number 3 receiver in the league right now. Um, good job, Alex. Title chasing. He's got his aspirations right where they need to be. Maybe singing some karaoke. He got it out of the system. He's like, you know what? Never again will I be last place. I mean, he's got to keep it up. It's only week 3 here, but he's looking like he's going in the right direction. No, not a lot of injuries, at least not to key players. Um, and then on the other side, Rob, I mean, you're absolutely right with saying like, Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley and you're 0-6. Like, how does that even make sense? Some of these guys are underperforming. I mean, Cortland Sutton, he was a top, I would say, 15 receiver last year, and he's number 15 this year, but definitely underperforming so far. Chase Brown, his outlook is shot with Browning at quarterback. And Browning looked terrible. So who knows what's going on with the Bengals? But the rest of his team, not a lot of big name guys. I mean, he's a Cam Scattaboo guy, so hopefully that can give him some life. I don't even see Rob making the playoffs, so I don't want to harp on his team. This is more about Alex and turning it around and title chasing is an appropriate name for him because he seems legitimate.
Yeah, just I mean, Alex's best players didn't even really perform that well. Jamar Chase under 7 points. That's happened. He's scored pretty poorly for the 2 out of the 3 weeks of the season. He's not even playing his best ball, right? He's dropping 125. Travion Henderson, we know, as I think everybody knows, he's going to have a majority of those looks and that backfield come the end of the year. I think Alex only kind of gets stronger from here. Um,
Mhm.
and for Rob, kind of a similar story, right? You got Scotty on your bench, who's the RB1 on that offense now. Torrey Horton with 2 touchdowns in that game. Could be a bona fide flex player, wide receiver 3 here. It's tough when you're starting Adam Thielen and De'Ami Brown in your flex. Like that's just usually the caliber of your team is determined by the quality of your flex players, and that's why Rob is 0-6 right now. If you're forced to start these two people, it's just going to be tough, right? And not to mention Chase Brown and Saquon underperforming, so it's um it's tough. Rob's definitely in line to make some moves and make some trades, or blow a bag on a waiver acquisition. But the if the alarms weren't going off last week, they certainly are now.
It's Tuesday, so we don't have any fab pickups, any waiver wire action quite yet to report on. And I don't recall, did we have any trades this week? Not that I remember.
Mm-mm.
No, I don't think so. Um, so anything you want to talk about before we take a look at week 4 and make some predictions?
I
Well,
do.
Trevor
Yep, go ahead.
I mean, mine might be quick. Trevor renamed his whole team to have either AI, Dick, or Butt in each team, in each person's, name. Well, good job. League morale is there. That's a league morale play, and I'm here for that. I love the off the field stuff that this league can produce, and that's a perfect example of fuck yeah.
He actually only changed Quentin Johnston's name to Quentin Johnson. He was there was no Dick AI or but but I guess a kind of a slant to Johnson or to Dick with Johnson there. So um, I love it though. I love seeing people like that get involved in that way. Always a fan of new funny team names or players for that matter. So I love it. I had a quick shine or shade. If we go down to the standings real quick.
Yep.
definitely some stratification here as far as tiers of team rankings right now. We're only 3 weeks into the season, right? So a lot can change. But we have 5 teams that are 3-3 right now. And I think 8 teams make the playoffs, right? Colin's the last one in, or the first one out, I should say, at 3-3 in the 9 seed right now, if the season ended today. Um, Shine or Shade, all 5 3-3 teams right now make the playoffs.
I'm going to shade that. And I
Yeah.
know I know Colin's not going to like the answer, but I'm going to say that it's his team that misses out.
Ooh.
I can't really argue that. I don't like it. You better shut your mouth before I shut it for you. But like there the argument is there. I could say that I might be the worst 3-3 team of that bunch. Um and I've spent the most fob, so like my team is what it is for the most part, unless I go out and get Mark Andrews for $34 and leave $1 for the rest of the 8 weeks of the regular season. Um
Let's just say 34 might not be enough for Mark Andrews.
right. If Harold Fannin was 44 and Troy Franklin was 40, or no, he was 44. I think I spent 30 something on Fannin. Yeah, Mark Andrews should be in that range as well. Um, look, I'll back myself in every matchup, but that's a valid argument that as if you're looking at those 3-3 teams, my team doesn't have the most upside between those 5 teams at 3-3. So I can't really argue that. Other than if I say that my 5 running back starters, someone trades me a starting receiver, I got some more balance. We find a little bit of momentum here. That changes the game, but um, we'll see.
I'm actually going to shine it, if I'm being honest. I mean, looking at 3-3 teams, kind of a bit of a logjam. But you look at the number 4 seed right now, he actually has lower points for than Colin does. And he's definitely battling, some weak play, barely scraped by with a 97-point win. Rashee Rice doesn't come back for another 3 weeks. I think that these next 3 weeks until Rashee Rice comes back are going to be 3 very important weeks for Jason to kind of at least maintain his status because there's 5 teams that are 1 game behind him right now, vying for the 4 seed. So I'm going to shine it. I think honestly the riskiest team in the standings right now for the playoffs, from my perspective, is Jason.
Yeah,
And
and he
and thank you for
will. I was just going to say in week 5, he will have a couple guys on bye. Now he can slot in Trevor Lawrence at quarterback and he can play another flex, but I guess he's going to slide in Tesla, or I don't know if you play Tesla or Dylan Sampson as your second flex that week, or maybe play someone that he picks up on waivers, but he's got I think in week 5, he's going to have a tough lineup if he doesn't make some roster moves in the next week or two.
and thank you for mentioning that, Cam, because it's not only Jason that has less points than me. Johnny has less points than me as well, and he's 5-1. You look at max points 4 as well, so we all know what that is. I am 6th or 7th. I'm 6th in max points 4. So figure out some lineup decisions, and my record is above 500. Um, the people who are less max points for than me, Eric, and then Johnny, Rob, Troy, and Jason. But Willie's top 4 with points 4, so he's got to figure out how to make his lineups. And that's what's in your control. Points against is a different story, out of your control. Um, but Josh has a low points against, so he's getting people's easy matchups. Alex is bottom. Well, I should say, yeah, bottom 3 with points against. So Alex is playing easier matchups. Um, so those are some interesting takeaways, and those would be my points to making the playoffs, even though I'm 3-3 compared to those other 3-3 teams.
All right, well, let's take a quick look at week 4. First matchup involving myself and one of those teams we were just talking about, Jason. How do the boys feel about this one?
Well, currently Purdy is in your lineup. Are you expecting him to come back? Is he coming back? Do we know that yet?
I'm expecting him to. He was at least trying to give it a go this week, and I think him against Jacksonville might be a better matchup than Jones against the Rams. But I'm perfectly happy if I have to start Daniel Jones, as I mentioned. So I got Purdy in there at the moment, but I could definitely make a switch there if needed.
Also, Jennings. If Purdy's back, are you giving the nod to Jennings if he's also healthy?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a wide receiver issue at the moment. So if
Right.
you see like it in my flex, I also have Dontavian Wicks in there right now, and he's not my highest projected flex, but that Dallas defense just doesn't exist. So my bet is that Wicks, has a long catch or a touchdown or something and gets me 8 or 9 points. And I think that's probably a better option than playing Bashal Tutin against the Niners defense, maybe. But that's kind of where I'm at with the flex because Tyrone Tracy's out, Jaden Reed is out, Jatavian Sanders is out, CD's out. So I've got a lot of issues, but I also, as I mentioned, might be trying to address that on the waiver wire and might have somebody to pop in there instead of Dontavian Wicks.
Sure. And across the pond here, look at Jason's team. His team seems to be kind of home run or bust right now, slash underperforming between his top three receivers, Brian Thomas, DJ Moore, and Jerry Jeudy, all underperforming on the season. Derrick Henry, he is playing Kansas City, so I'm expecting him to show up, but he's gonna fumble in the fourth quarter and they're gonna lose the game. So that's almost a lock for this season already. 2 out of the 3 games, that's the scenario. Um, you're playing a high variance team this week, and so you got to find a way to get 130, and I think you'll be safe with the median for sure. But with the head to head, that's a crapshoot. I'll pick you though.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Nick too. Across the pond from Dontavian Wicks, I guess diagonally, they got Kayshon Boutte, who, I mean, the definition of home run or bust, right? I mean, that Drake May's slinging that ball all across that offense. Don't really love that he's having to start for him, but then again, like who else is he gonna play? Calvin Austin the same way. Really, to Nick's point, really needs Rashee Rice to come back and quickly. I think Nick wins here. And depending on how it kind of shakes out, I'd be surprised if Jason beats the median too.
I think this is going to be low scoring. This might be one where neither one of us beats the median, depending on how many of my guys are actually out and how many of my guys actually play. I'm going to give Jason the nod here. I think this might be my toughest week of the season. I'm a little panicked about how many injuries I have piling up at the moment. It's fortunately for me, it doesn't seem to be a lot of season-ending injuries. It's a lot of guys who are out for like the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I think I might be at my weak point at the moment. So I'm going to say Jason gets me.
And is that why you have 7 waiver options? Maybe
Might
give
be.
us some insight there.
Yeah. Now some of those are like, if this guy gets picked up, then I want to drop the same guy for someone else kind of thing.
Right.
I'm not dropping 7 guys, but I have, 7 guys that I think would be able to help my team at the moment. That's for sure.
All right. Are we expecting to drop like a Birkin bag, a Gucci bag on a particular purple player? Um,
I mean, we're dealing with some adversity, and I see some shiny new toys that would look good in whatever bag I'm carrying around. So we shall
Noted.
see. Yeah,
That's heard.
yeah.
Heard that.
Um, Two teams heading in opposite directions. Johnny against Willie here. Johnny's also got Jaden Daniels in the starting lineup at the moment. I think that's a question mark. Ashton Jennings, he's still projected to get 12 points, so at least Sleeper thinks he's eventually going to turn it on here. Addison comes back this week, so that'll be huge for Johnny's team as well. I'm gonna give Johnny the win here. I think his team is continuing to ascend, and the Dart bags, unless they pick up future QB1 Jackson Dart, might be in trouble.
He doesn't even have Jackson Dart in his team as the Dart bags. I mean,
Not
we all
yet.
know
He
he's a
might, he
Giants.
might, if he knows what's good for him, he'll drop Josh Allen for Jackson Dart.
Hey, they're playing the New Orleans Saints. It might be 40 to nothing at halftime, and all those
Sure.
touchdowns will be like Ty Johnson and like Elijah Moore. So, while it's a green matchup, I don't when you're playing the worst team in the NFL, usually all your point makers aren't making the points because they're in a practice, they're all playing in their practice uniforms. So, and he's starting at least currently Coleman and Shakir. So I'm gonna try to be positive with Willie's team here. Maybe this is the week that Genty goes off against Chicago. Tyreek Hill, he loves a divisional game. He's playing the Jets. He's still playing Jake Tongues. So I don't know who he's trying to speak to in that sense. But I'm picking Johnny here. Even though you said Jordan Addison is coming back, but he's also starting Xavier Worthy. Um,
And
we don't
Tyquan
know if.
Thornton.
Oh, right, he's got Thorne. Oh, wow. So I mean, I'm picking Johnny here because he's got Daniels' backup, and he's got a few guys on his bench that are hot. I mean, Luther Burden after going off last game. Johnny gets the win. I don't know if I need to overthink this.
Yeah, I think Johnny gets the win too. Tough week, tough to see Mike Evans go out with what seems to be a multi-week, 3 to 4, 6 week injury with his hamstring. But Jordan Addison couldn't come back at a better time. I think to Nick's point, these are two teams heading in different directions right now. Um, I think Willie needs to figure out a way to turn it around just as badly as Rob does. I think he definitely needs to hit the trade market or the waiver wire. The running back room in Kansas City has been a question mark all year. We've addressed it to his face, and he still doesn't seem to kind of think that he needs to make any moves there. I think that's his most obvious glaring issue right now, aside from tight end. Um, anyways, long story short, I think Johnny wins. I do think Willie beats the median though off a crazy game from Josh Allen.
Next, we have one of our 0-6 teams who, at the moment, Sleeper has as a 51-49 favorite over Josh, which I find interesting. We talked about Troy's team might be getting stronger with his running back clarity and currently projected to get 27 points between Omarion Hampton and Trey Benson. I'm going to say Troy does it. I'm going to say Troy pulls off the upset here and beats, remember, the Joshes. Maybe these two teams might also, I'm going to say they determine the median. So maybe, I don't know if they have guys. Yeah, they have some guys playing on Sunday night. Um, I'm looking to see if they have any Monday night action. Mostly Sunday night. But maybe Sunday night, they're, sort of getting into that median spot and then deciding the winner of this matchup and the winner of the median.
Yeah, Troy's got guys all over the Sunday slate. He's got a 9:30, the fourth, no 4:30s, but he'll be watching football for 14 straight hours on Sunday. Troy,
Oh,
that
excuse
is.
me. Waddle is playing on Monday for Eric. I mean, for Josh. But yes, to your point. And they've got some Thursday night guys too. So they've got a lot of football to watch this week.
I mean, who doesn't love watching football and every single day that they can, even if you have to wake up at 9:30 to watch a fucking Berlin game or Dublin game, whatever it is. Um, I'll give Troy the nod here. I know Josh just hit a speed bump last week. He might be still on that speed bump, the longest speed bump in history. But I want to see Troy turn this around. You hate to see in a redraft league guys out of it this early, and I don't want him to be out of it. I don't want Rob to be out of it. But Troy's got a little bit more positivity with his team, the clarity, what have you. Josh, he's got a lot of firepower too, but I think Troy can pull this one out.
I mean, you just look at the lineup, right? And I know we've been glazing Troy's lineup as an 0-6 team far too long, but I think this is the week he gets it done. I mean, if it does come down to Nick's point to Sunday night and it's Jordan Love and Matthew Golden versus Josh Jacobs on Josh's side, I mean, we just saw what Russell Wilson did to that Dallas defense 2 weeks ago.
And
Um,
Caleb Williams.
Right, and Caleb Williams. Like I think if there's any week that Jordan Love scores well above the median after getting trounced by the Browns last week, I think this is the week. And I also think that this is probably the week that Matthew Golden finally scores and has a big breakout. So I think Troy wins here. And just a quick point, I think I mean, Josh has had to address running back issues already this season. And if you look at his bench, I mean, I think that Woody Marks projection is a little high, but I'm just not very inspired by the running backs that he has at his disposal, even though he has four right there on his bench. God forbid something were to happen to 30-year-old Kamara or Josh Jacobs, like he's gonna need to do some work to kind of get the running back position back, the ship righted, if you will. So I think Troy wins here. This could be a high scoring game as well. But I think Troy wins. I also think Josh covers the median.
Last but, or sorry, not even close to last but least. Our other 0 and 6 teams, what I think I was starting to say. He hasn't set his lineup yet. He still has Scadaboo on the bench, and in the flex, he has Adam Thielen and De'Ami Brown. And I have to believe he's starting Scadaboo over one of those guys. But currently, a 33% chance for Rob to pull this upset over Dick's Butts and Clankers. I still think even when he gets his lineup set properly, that you just got to go with DB and C. I don't think Rob has the firepower to pull off this upset, so give me DB and C all day.
Oh my God, I love that so much. He DBNC is currently projected the most wins this or the most points this week by a total of five. He's projected 134. The next closest is 129. Um, so that's something to hang your hat on, I guess. Um, it's Trevor. Trevor's going to win this game. There's no way that Rob wins this game unless Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley go for 40 apiece, and they won't do that. That just won't happen. So, um, Dick's Butts and Clankers got this all day long. I don't think he could mess up his lineup anymore. He's just going with his strongest team, which, you know, that's what you got to do when you got all that firepower. Um, Trying to come up with a joke here and nothing's landing. So, Dick's Butts and Clankers, that's easy dub.
I mean, you look at Trevor's team too. You see T. Higgins and Tucker Kraft on his bench, and he's still projected to score the highest amount of points in this league this week. That's outstanding. I don't really know what to say to that. A quick X factor thing that I wanted to highlight here. We just saw the Minnesota Vikings have probably the best defensive week we've seen in years in this league. And the Denver Broncos get the Cincinnati Bengals again on Monday night. I don't think that game's going to be particularly close. So if there is an X factor in this game, aside from the plethora of robots that Trevor has on his team, I think it's the Dick for Buttkos this week. And if Jaden Daniels does come back healthy, I don't think the Falcons are the defense that Rob wants to start. So looking for the defensive battle there. And I think Trevor wins this handedly. And I would be if Rob doesn't make any line changes, I'm surprised if he scores over 100 points this week again.
Two more to go. Colin, your matchup, slight underdog at the moment against Eric. How are you feeling?
I feel good. Eric scored 160 last week, so I'm not expecting him to do that again. I'm hoping he doesn't do that again. I feel good about where my lineup is at. I know a few guys underperformed. Drake London still hasn't hit the ground running. Troy Franklin had a down week, but I still think he's integral to that offense. Um, I'm hanging everything I got on Jonathan Taylor, even though they're playing a good Rams run defense and just overall defense. I think this could be probably a low scoring game again because Eric went off last week, so he's bound to just come back to reality. He's starting Jake Browning because CJ Stroud's having a piss poor year as well. So um I think I'll be okay. I'm picking myself, obviously, as we know. I'm starting Quinshon Judkins. I'm excited about that. Um Captain Kirk's in my lineup. Hopefully, I mean he got a lot of targets coming back from an injury. I hope he can be the safety valve for Stroud. I'm expecting to win this game, but it probably will be low scoring.
Yeah, I think Colin wins this game as well. I think it's close. Um, of course, Jake Browning goes up against another tough defense in Denver. But then again, his quarterback only scored 5 points versus me, and he dropped 160. Don't expect to see 55 points between his kicker and his defense again this week. And I think because of that, Colin has the firepower to win. So I think Colin wins this week.
I'm going to make a prediction. I think Eric starts a quarterback this week who is not currently on his roster. I don't know if he drops Jake Browning or makes another move, but I'm going to say on behalf of after that prediction coming true, that Eric with his new quarterback gets this dub, and that his new quarterback makes the difference. That if he keeps Stroud or Browning, he gets the loss, but if he ends up with a new quarterback, he gets the win. That's my prediction. And last but not least, Cam, your matchup, 2 5-1 teams. This is our Monday Night Football matchup this week, if you will, between two of the best teams in the league, last in the predictions. 53-47 in your favor at the moment, according to Sleeper. How are you feeling?
I'm excited. I wasn't expecting this to be the record for Alex showing up, but then again, I didn't expect this to be my record either. I'm excited. My season has been a matter of ups and downs where one player does poorly, but another player kind of picks up the slack. Whether it's Puka, whether it's Malik Neighbors, whether it's Jalen Hurts, or David Montgomery. Um, this is going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty high scoring game, if I'm being honest. And a lot of players are playing each other, right? Carolina and New England, Tampa Bay and Philly. Um, so I'd be, if assuming that they're all shootouts like I expect them to be, this is going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to pick myself, but I think that this is a rematch of me and Eric from last week, where it's the two highest scoring teams of the week playing against each other.
Yeah, I think Troy called it when he said that it bodes well for the league that Cam is coming out the gate hot like this. Not only is he averaging 148 per game, but he's also his lineups are 93%. He's making the lineup percentage manager efficiency rating is 93%. So he can only go one direction from here, and that's to slow down, and that's what we're all hoping for. Um this could easily be the high scoring game of the week. I will be keeping an eye on this game just for the sake of the two best teams going up against each other. Um, Again, like I said, Cam's averaging 148, Alex is averaging 128. So I do think Cam gets this win, but I will be rooting for title chase, and I say that shamelessly.
I will be rooting for title chasing as well, but my prediction here is this is not even close. I think Cam wins by 70 this week. I have a feeling that like Alex's top guys. Baker's got the Philly defense. They're normally pretty strong. Jamar has the Denver defense and no quarterback. DK Metcalf is playing the Minnesota defense. They're pretty tough. Odunze has a better matchup against Vegas, but he's really going to need his tight ends to perform. They're the only like green matchups he has at the moment, other than his defense. And I don't know that Minnesota really should be green with Carson Wentz leading them. So I think Alex super underperforms. He might be the lowest scorer this week. I got Cam by 70, maybe 75.
Hell
Counter
yeah.
that, Montgomery's playing a Cleveland defense that looks absolutely suffocating. Pickens is playing Green Bay that again, like, will love get the ball off. I know those games with Dallas have been high scoring, but Micah Parsons' revenge game, it's in Dallas. I think he's gonna have a fire under his ass. Um, Warren playing against the Minnesota Vikings, I think he kind of slows down.
Malik Neighbors is
Um,
going to catch 4 touchdowns from Jackson Dart this week, though.
I don't
30,
know.
35 points incoming for Malik Neighbors this week.
I'd be inclined to if I didn't need a defense, if I needed a defense, I'd be inclined to start the Chargers defense. They're a good defense against a rookie quarterback. I love starting defenses against rookies, especially in their first starts. And Neighbors hasn't really gotten going except for that one game, and it's only because it was against Dallas. So maybe our prediction of high scoring is just all around wrong, which I'd love. I'd love for Cam to come back to reality. and get the loss and lose to the median and miss the playoffs. But
Hey.
that's a little quick. I'm getting ahead of myself here.
This isn't Willie we're talking about.
I got to go back and see through 3 weeks what my best record I've ever had is, because this is probably 3 games better than 3 games above my best record ever through 3 weeks in this league. I'm usually still asleep at the wheel before week 5.
Well, that wraps up our predictions. I guess one last thing before we sign off. There are a number of guys, as we talked about, if you look at the trending, who are available at the moment. Sterling Shepard, Chris Rodriguez, Cavante Turpin, Hassan Haskins, Jalen Tolbert, Parker Washington, maybe. Mark Andrews, we already talked about. There's some quarterbacks out there, including the chosen one, Jackson Dart. Do you guys think the fab spending keeps up with the last 2 weeks, or do you think that it slows down this week?
I think it slows down. Um, I'm saying that because I'm out of the game. Look, Mark Andrews, I think shine or shade, he'll be above 30 fab.
I'm going to shade
Without,
that. I think the people who are willing to drop 30 fab have already done so and probably won't do it again. I I would guess he's in the 10 to 20 range. That's going to be my prediction.
Yeah, I probably should be more in the market for this man, considering I'm starting Dallas Goddard or Brenton Strange at tight end every week. Um, I think his fair market value is probably around 16 to 19 fab, but knowing this league and knowing that there's some big money ballers, he probably will go for more than that. To answer your next question, last week I think Nick made the prediction that we'll have a lot of waiver activity, maybe not the highest amount of waiver spend, although we did see $44 spent on one player. Um, I think we're going to see less waiver activity, but close to the same amount of waiver spend. So just more expensive purchases this week.
There you go. It'll be interesting to watch. Any final thoughts?
well, we are through what? There's 12 regular season games, and we've played 3, so we're through a quarter of the season, regular season. I think we're off to a great start. Barring a few teams at the bottom there, everyone is definitely in it. Everyone's competitive. Um, we do have a runaway point leader, but I think he'll come back to reality. But this is another great season off and running, and I'm proud of this league once again. And I think we'll, continue a competitive season. It's already competitive. Um, and that'll continue as it does every year. So keep it up.
We do have a max points for runaway leader that's not me too. Trevor has, I think, 40 or 50 more max points for than I do, which is crazy. So Trevor is just a ticking time bomb waiting to explode as soon as he can get his lineup decisions made. Um, so Trevor still want to be looking out for at the 5 seed. I do not envy the person who has to play him come playoff time.
Yeah, you're up 60 on everyone in points for, but max points for, he's up closer to 30. So you're absolutely right. Trevor's team somehow, I mean, we know how. It's AI, it's Perplexity, it's Claude, it's ChatGPT, all of them mixed together to form the Trevor AI pert. And his team, like you said, he's got T. Higgins and some of these guys on his bench
Tucker
that would be
Kraft, who's like,
starting for 9 out of the 10 out of the 12 teams in this league. It's unbelievable.
bro, I'm naming my first child Tucker Kraft, and he's not even on my team.
He has to bench the second tight end because he has the number 1 tight end.
Yeah, he is hentai horny starting from at tight end this week. Uh,
All
Let's just
right.
leave it at that.
Well,
That's a
yeah,
good sign off.
with that, good luck as we begin the second quarter of the season to everyone.
Peace.